Bethany Scott here, and welcome to my channel. I know a few of you might be new here, as you have maybe just in the last month joined me from the Card Maker Success Summit. For those of you who have been here for a while, I want to apologize. We had some technical difficulties about a little shy of 3 weeks ago, as I was preparing to be a presenter in the Card Maker Success Summit and take the Q&A session. About an hour before we started, all of my system, except for the platform that I use to film, everything went down. The cameras, the lights, the microphone, nothing connected. It took me days to even get anything connected back again. I ended up having to purchase a new camera. And the camera that you're viewing me on happens to just be my good old FaceTime camera off of my laptop. So I'm still figuring out my system again. So if things look a little bit different, styled differently, that's why. We've also had another birthday in our house and celebrated my 40th birthday this past week. So it's been a little bit crazy. And today I finally was able to sit down and get a working camera. It doesn't mean everything's working perfectly yet, but this is my tester. And so any feedback, if you want to drop a comment in the comments below, feel free, just let me have it. All the opinions, how does it sound, how does it look? Because I'm going to be playing around with this for a while. But because I had a little girl who gave me a little sad face when she opened her gift and didn't see a card, we're going to do that today. So here you can see I have a Kindred stamp set that I got a little while ago called Winter Friends, and this is one of those themes in our house that is always happening. If you can guess, you can guess. I'm not technically going to say what the theme is, but let's just say we've got a lot of the decorations in our household. So I am going to, as quickly as possible, create a card. I am going to create a scene, but I am going to do it on not white cardstock, but this light blue cardstock. Also, apologies in advance, I don't know how to control the zoom in, zoom out on this camera yet, or the focus on this camera yet, so I will be continually improving on that. If some of you know where I live, you'll know that this past weekend, actually on my birthday, we had the most catastrophic and largest rainfall in the area on record. And even as of filming this, they are still dealing with flooding, and the storms have not completely passed, so we have had a lot of flooding issues. Our house did not flood, but several of our neighbors did. And, you know, we've dealt with a flood before in our basement, and my family, hubby and I, we all live in the basement, so it's a little bit touch and go when that kind of stuff happens. But we were able to get out with just flooding in our backyard. The children have a toy Jeep that did land and get swept away into the neighbor's yard, and thankfully was wedged so it didn't go further than the neighbor's yard, because we do have a stream, it's a stream that goes through our backyard. Well, that stream overflowed and completely filled up the entire backyard. And so it's been interesting, but we just can't play in the backyard until we can finish dealing with flooding and getting everything cleaned up, which is fine. I just have to tell the children, no, don't go in the backyard. You can play in the front yard, but an adult has to be with you, obviously. So they're learning their new boundaries. And so we are going to do the little princesses in the middle, and I want all the characters, but I don't think all the characters are gonna fit, just because I'm going to trim this down too. just thinking out loud. And I'm gonna have a cool birthday and you make my heart melt. You might as well just might as well just go ahead and put some of those there. Yeah, we're not gonna have. Are we gonna add a reindeer? I don't know. I'm overthinking it now. So we are safe though. I'm going to donate a lot of the stuff that was donated to us when we did flood. Some of you may have heard the story already, but when Danny, who is now our 6-year-old, when she was 3 months old, so it would have been roughly a day or two before Thanksgiving, our entire living space, the nursery, our bedroom, our kitchen, dining room, all that, in the basement completely flooded. And we lost pretty much everything. If it was in a drawer, it didn't get flooded, but everything else, just so much furniture had to get tossed. And thankfully, we are friends with a really good company that does restoration. And so they were there, like, I would say within 20 minutes to a half an hour of us discovering the flooding. And basically both sump pumps that night had completely died. And so we basically just had standing water from, it wasn't a big storm or anything. It was just standing water from a storm. And I'm just adding some VersaFine Black as I tell the story. So it was tough. I mean, being a new mom and having to deal with all of that stress, but it was one of those. I'd woken up to go check on the baby, and I was half awake and didn't realize, oh, the floor's squishy. And then I realized, oh, at first I thought our daughter had wet through her diaper, because it took me that whole time walking from our bedroom to her crib for me to even notice that something was wet. And then I felt the crib and I was like, no, that's not the source of the wetness. And then I realized, that's the floor. And then I looked down and realized, like, I'm standing in several inches of water. That's how awake I was. But anyways, yeah, it's never a fun thing to discover as you're trying to navigate life with a newborn. And thankfully they got us out of the space. We moved ourselves temporarily for a few months to the upper level with a newborn, so it was a little chaotic and haphazard for a minute, but we figured it out and survived and all that. But yeah, it's definitely an adventure. So I understand how all of these people that are going through what they're going through right now, how difficult it is. I have now added alcohol ink markers to the party over here. And you'll notice that I have a scrap extra piece of paper. Even though I'm going to cut this down, I don't know exactly my placement, so just in case I can't figure that out, I'm going to just use a scrap. I bent it when I pulled it out of the tray, and I'm going to use that to figure out my coloring, especially because I'm not working on white, I'm working on blue. And I'm going to start with facial coloring. I think first, I'm not going to be so concerned about shadow, because I'm going to be just trying to find the colors that work in the first place. And I may actually just leave the faces blue, now that I'm thinking about it. Well, I'm going to not color the faces and then decide later. I may regret this choice, but we're going with it for now. Let's just do the hair first. So we have probably the potato brown for Anna. Yeah, that'll work. And got like that little brownish coloring to her hair. And she's got a little bun in her hair. And then actually her braid is the same color as her hair. So I'm just gonna do full coloring. There's a ribbon in her hair and I just colored over it. Whoops, sorry. We'll add the ribbon color in the back. And then I'll do a darker brown. Her hair I'll do two-toned, I think. Yeah. Her hair does work with the two-tone. But I think for Elsa, we're going to steer clear of that two-toning. Alright, coming back with the original color. Giving more dimension. Trying not to color face in. So a few friends, yeah, they're still dealing with flooding. A friend of mine, she was actually at the state fair here, and that was one of the first places that started flooding really badly, as in people had to abandon cars and were getting stuck in tunnels from the rushing water as they're trying to walk and leave the area safely. And she's pregnant and has, I believe her daughter is 4 or 5. I forget how old her daughter is. But, you know, that's terrifying as a mom who's, you know, trying to keep your child safe and all that. Definitely a difficult situation. All right, so this says dim green. I wonder how it's going to work. This one, yeah, okay. So that's going to be Elsa's hair, is a dim green. So it's basically like just saying, we're going to embrace the blue and we're going to zhuzh it up. So to turn the blue and color over it with something that's going to turn it Elsa's white hair, yeah, I would have to use just a white marker probably. So instead we're just doing an interpretation. Again, my daughter's going to love this no matter what, because it has a, you know, the theme it has. And I'm going to be okay with that. But yeah, Elsa's hair's, it's cute. It works. And I'll show you up close, hopefully. This is my test. You can see how it's just a little bit different. So, let's use the same brown for Sven's antlers, and I'm using the fine tip this time just to fit into those corners. I could make them darker, but I want to make his antlers dark and his body not as dark. I think that's my goal here. So again, no two-tone. I'm gonna skip that again. With more time and pre-planning, of course, I would play. But I'm also just trying to get through right now. So we'll use that lighter brown for his eyebrows. And for his, around his nose, I think. We keep some of those similar colors so it's not over-colored. That's what I like to call it. When you have too many colors for your eyes to focus on, get this over-coloring. That'll work. And then find a lighter brown for the rest of his body. Technically it should be this one. So I'm going to actually Dun, 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 dun. I'm going to color that same color here, and then the little tuft around the neck, I will just use the same color as the antlers. Just throw that darker color in, make it more like a shadow. I'll use the brush tip this time though. There we go. And then let's see if I can find a very light brown. There's a rose beige. I don't know. That might be too light. Oh, no, it's actually perfect. Yay! So, for those of you in the Midwest, how did you fare with all these batches of storms? I know that it was definitely different, you know, waking up on my 40th birthday and realizing, oh, we could have been completely flooded, and we weren't, thankfully. But I did, you know, inspect the yard after everything had happened and realized, oh, the water line, if it had gotten, I think, less than 6 inches higher, I would have been waking up to a very wet birthday with water rushing through the window. So, yeah, it makes a little interesting conversation to start off the birthday. Like, happy 40th, here's some water, have fun. And this is actually gray, not black, but it's going to just look black. So, it's a darker gray. I didn't want to do pitch black because then you're detracting from the actual lines. But yeah, I think that's it. And then his teeth are going to just stay blue, I guess. I would add yellow, but... And then let's see if I can find like a pinkish red for a tongue. Yeah, that's pink enough. And Anna will get the same color tongue. And we won't do Mr. Olaf's there. Olaf is actually going to get the same coloring as Elsa, because he comes from Elsa, so why not? And this is definitely not typical for me if you're new here. This is just one of those, I'm testing this out and going with the flow on it. So, for those of you who are new, so in the last 3 weeks, we've had 3 birthdays in our house. My oldest daughter, she turned 6. I'm going to use the gray again for Olaf's buttons. My oldest, she turned 6 3 weeks ago. And then my middle turned 5 a few days ago. And then 2 days after that, I turned 40. So, yeah, it's just kind of all right back to back. Let's see if I'm going to try the marigold because I think the orange might just be too orange. Nope, that's brown. Okay. Maybe it'll turn out. It's just a dark orange. It's fine. Alright. I'll just have a hinted orange color. And is there any more orange? No, there's just brown. So I will use a darker brown. So for those who did send cards or send messages on all the messenger places, thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement. And that also does mean that I have not yet drawn names. So those of you who are waiting patiently for me to draw names for the stash, those little purple cases right there of goodies. I do plan, as long as I can keep the system running as it is, I do plan to do either a live or not a live, but I plan to do something, a video with announcing the winners, drawing the winners, and all of that. I think we need like a pale blue, so frost blue. Let's see how frost blue shows up on blue. Perfect. All right, Elsa, you get a blue dress. And we're not going to change tones or colors because we're going to keep it simple. Yeah, so I will still be drawing names, don't worry. I have closed it because I did get a lot of people, and if you did do, thank you for those who did, but if you did fill out the form for the giveaway, you'll know there were a lot of opportunities for extra points and tickets, which I have to go back and verify that those actually did happen, because I've had it happen in the past where people have said, yeah, I did this, and I'm looking and I'm like, no, actually you didn't. So I have learned that that is a necessity to verify that yes, in fact, they did. That's too blue. Let me see. I'm trying to get a green for Anna's dress, but I don't want to be too green. That's probably good. Yeah, that's a good green. So hers, I'm just going to do the same thing. Everything the same tone. I'm not going to overcomplicate life. There's enough design anyways in it that it's totally fine. I promise. This is less about realism and more about a hint of it. And to tie it in, I'm going to give Sven over here the green of the... This is a halter, I believe. I don't know. What? Harness. Halter? Meh. Something like that. And I'm going to just trim only a smidge off on this side because I want to trim off a little more on Mr. Olaf's side. It's generally when I am trimming down like exact measurements, so I want to trim this down to 5 1/4. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just trim it down to 5 1/4. Yeah, we'll just have 1/8 of an inch around each side, and I'm going to just trim this side to just 4 inches and off the top. And because I want to ground all my characters, I'm actually going to do one last thing. It's something I learned long ago, that when you have a scene with characters, you want to ground them. So I'm going to take that that dim green, that I used for her hair, and I'm going to just create like this little patches of snow to ground my characters with, and I'll come back and fill it in. But this way, each of the characters kind of have a grounding spot. They don't just seem like, oh, hey, we're floating off in space, being all blue and stuff. No. And then now you'll see I'm like just giving arcs of the brush as I'm filling in. And this just creates this little path of, they're on a patch of snow or whatever you want to call it. They're just not completely off in space. And it's so subtle, so light, but it works. Just going over one more time. Especially because the ladies, their dresses go all the way to the ground, so I don't want them to be still floating. Like, let's allow for some foot placement here. Going a little bit in between Sven's feet, hooves, whatever. And then Olaf, well, he jumps around, so he doesn't have to be completely grounded, not like everyone else. Yep. And then just a few more flicks, just to make sure, you know, even if there's brush strokes that get seen, they look like they fit. And there we go. So now I need to let them have some words to say, as in happy birthday. And I'm just going to put them off in the air. I'm not going to put them on anything foam, whatever. Nothing crazy like that. But try to line them up as best as I can. So have a cool birthday, and you make my heart melt. So you make my heart melt will be the initial sentiment here. And I think we're going to put the have a cool birthday inside the card. That makes the most sense. Why not? It's for my daughter, my little 5-year-old. Can't believe she's 5. She was my preemie. So labor story. Ellie, who is now 5, she was 6 weeks early. And around the time I went into labor, I was actually when I went into labor, I was taking wax off of a car. Back then, my husband and I, we owned a detail shop, and I was up on top of a ladder, actually, taking the wax off of a large pickup truck. And that should work. Yep. Ooh, the bottom of the T did not work. And so I felt the first contraction, and I was like, oh, okay. I've had a lot of contractions during all of my pregnancies, so didn't think a whole lot about it. And I was kind of like, and it wasn't super strong, so I was like, maybe that was just gas. I'm not sure. You know, glanced at the clock, because that's not a habit. You just glance at the clock. And exactly 5 minutes later, I think that was another contraction. And I'm still taking wax off this truck. By the fourth one, 5 minutes apart, I was like, okay, this is definitely not gas. These are consistent contractions, and I'm just going to start monitoring. And because I was so early, I was like, I'm not going to call. I'm not going to call. I'm not going to be that mom who's like, I'm in labor, blah, blah, blah. So I tracked my contractions for about an hour, finished up the vehicle, got it checked out, customer picked up, paid, all that. And I'm still having contractions. So I, call my husband. I'm like, hey, by the way, I don't know if I should freak out or not, but we're an hour into contractions, 5 minutes apart. He's like, okay, Mom, do you need me to come take you to the hospital? I'm like, I'm going to give it 45 more minutes, and if we are still consistently 5 minutes apart, then yes, let's take care of this. So, actually, I should stamp inside. Haha. I should stamp this inside before I glue. So, we go in, and they can't even read the contractions. And I'm like, nope, there was one. Nope, there was one. Right there. That was one. And I'm literally having to tell them. And they're like, oh, we see a little blip. They're like, well, you're not really dilating, which I never did for any of my pregnancies. And they were like, and you're, you've got a ways to go. You're 6.5 weeks early. So I think we're just going to let this play out. I was like, oh, okay. You're sending me home when I'm in, you now see the contractions on the screen. Like, I'm pointing them out, and you're like, yep, okay, 5 minutes apart. They're very light, but they're there. barely reading. And they sent me home. And they were like, well, sleep through it, walk through it, all that thing. And, you know, I already had a 1-year-old at that point. But I don't think we had built the crib. I don't think, we just weren't prepared. Like, not even remotely close. And mind you, this was 10 months? No. 9 months after that flooding happened. Or not even a full 9 months. Less than 9 months. No. Yeah, less than 9 months. Yeah, I can add. So, you know, definitely was like, we're not ready. Like, we just barely got our house back together. Like, we've got a lot going on here. Like, we're not ready to bring a baby home right now. I'm like, I don't even have a going home outfit, nothing. And so they were like, well, then go shopping. So that's what I did. I went to like probably 5 different stores just to find a going home outfit, which, because she was a preemie, barely fit. I mean, she was drowning in it. And so, yeah, that's what I did for 4.5 days. And at 11 o'clock at night, as I'm finally getting into bed, I'm fully miserable and I'm exhausted and I'm just getting into bed. I had just used the bathroom and I'm like, I'm just ready to pass out. This is a lot. Every 5 minutes for 4 days. Let's just be done. And my water breaks. And I'm like, okay, what do we do? Because my first pregnancy, my water never broke. So I was like, what do we do? So we called the hospital up and they were like, still contractions? Yep. Every 5 minutes? Yep. But the second my water broke, it actually wasn't. My contractions went like 7 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 2 minutes, then 1 minute. They went all over the place. And I was like, oh, crap. Now we've broke something. And they went to go check. The first person to check to see if my water had broken, they were like, I can't see any evidence of it. And I'm like, you need to check again because I did not wet myself. Like, my water broke. And the second person who checked, they were like, yeah, your water broke. Yes, we're admitting you. Yes, you are going to have this baby. And so the next morning at as we're watching infomercials at like 4, I think she was born at 4:04 a.m. 4 is my favorite number. Yeah, she was born and 4 pounds, 4 ounces. Tiny little baby. Tiny, tiny baby. And she, she has outgrown everything and is very bossy and opinionated. Not bossy. She's just very opinionated, wild-spirited, very outgoing, can make friends with a frog. And she gets scared about the craziest things and then is brave about the craziest things. And it's just like, okay, you're all over, girl. But we love her. And, our Ellie has definitely taken us on a journey. We did have 13 days in the NICU, and it was terrifying, but we survived. And it was also during COVID, so that meant all these COVID protocols that no one knew what was happening. It was, every day it seemed like the rules changed. So it was just definitely an interesting ride. But it was fun. And bringing home a very, very tiny baby was scary, but she's been an adventure. Growth-wise, she just shot up. She's in the 90th percentile last we checked. She's very tall, very lean, very healthy, no problems. She was fully developed. She's just wanted to not wait around. She's like, I'm fully baked. I don't need to wait anymore. And there we go. So, anyways, for those of you who were not anticipating getting a labor story today. Thank you for tuning in. And hopefully my whole system is working fine and no problems. If there are any problems that you see, holler, yell them out, let me know. Definitely open for improvement. I know that it's may not stay this way since I had such a problem getting all the things connected, even just to get this recorded and tested out. So we'll have to see where we go from here. But I'm excited. I have a lot of things planned for you all. I have so many things that I cannot wait to share with you. And truly, those who have stuck in with me, we hit the 800 subby mark this last month. We're doing this giveaway. We are just in this growth spurt right now and just really excited for all the things coming around the corner. I have some really lofty plans. And hopefully technology works in my favor, that I can actually follow through with all of my lofty plans, but also, keep my family in mind. We have just been a little on the roller coaster side. It's summer, and so that's just what happens sometimes in summer. But we are all healthy, we are all happy, and that's the good part. And I so genuinely appreciate all of you for being here, supporting us, either through the Crafty YouTube, if you've been a customer of mine through Mary Kay, or the boutique that my mom and I run out of here. And, just any support that you've done. If you've liked, you shared, you subscribed, thank you for your support. I am genuinely appreciative of all of you. It's been a wild... the giveaway was for celebrating my 4 years. So it's very cool to hit 800 subbies during that celebration. It's also I feel really blessed to just be able to share what I love with you all, and all my crazy quirkiness, and waiting for that door to open with the child running in and asking me some odd question. But we'll see. School is just around the corner for us. It's only, I think we counted, it's less than 20 days now. I think we did a countdown. I don't remember exactly. I could be wrong. By the time you see this, who knows how many days left. But anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Don't forget to find the joy in your day, and happy making. Bye.